They were married for 5 years. They prayed, fasted, and waited. Then one night, the wife whispered, "I can't do this anymore." What happened next changed everything. Daniel and Ruth had been married for 5 years, 5 full years of prayers, 5 years of hope, 5 years of waiting. Every morning, Ruth woke up before the sun. She would lie quietly and place her hand on her stomach. Sometimes she smiled. Sometimes her eyes filled with tears. Nothing ever changed. Daniel noticed everything, even when Ruth tried to hide it. He noticed how she stopped buying baby clothes just in case. He noticed how she avoided holding other people's babies in church. He noticed how her laughter slowly faded. But every morning, Daniel still prayed. "Lord," he would say softly, "thank you for today. Thank you for my wife, and thank you for the child you will give us." Ruth used to pray like that too. She used to believe like that. But waiting can be heavy, and hope, when delayed, can hurt the heart. At church, Ruth sat quietly beside Daniel. Around them were children laughing, crying, running, and playing. Mothers chased them, fathers lifted them onto their shoulders. Ruth kept her eyes on the floor. After service, a woman smiled at her and asked, "So, when will it be your turn?" Ruth forced a small smile. "God's time," she replied, but inside, something cracked. That night, Ruth cried herself to sleep. Daniel held her, but she did not cry loudly. Her tears were silent, like she had cried too many times before. "I'm tired," she whispered. "I'm tired of hoping." Daniel said nothing. He only held her tighter. They had done everything. Doctors, tests, prayers, fasting. The doctor said, "Be patient." The church said, "Have faith." Friends said, "Relax, it will happen." But months passed, then years, and the 5th year arrived. One afternoon, Ruth sat alone in the living room. The house was quiet, too quiet. She looked around and imagined toys on the floor, a small bed in the corner, a child's laughter filling the space. She stood up suddenly and shook her head. "No," she said out loud, "no more imagining." That evening, when Daniel came home, he found Ruth sitting on the bed with a serious face. "We need to talk," she said. Daniel's heart tightened. "I don't think I can do this anymore," Ruth continued. "I don't think I can keep hoping and getting disappointed." Daniel sat beside her. "God will give us our child," he said gently. "I know it." Ruth laughed bitterly. "You've been saying that for 5 years. How long do you want me to wait?" Daniel looked at her eyes. They were tired, very tired. "As long as it takes," he said. Ruth stood up. "I'm done," she said. "I'm done praying. I'm done believing. I'm done hoping." The words hung in the air like smoke. That night, Ruth did not pray. Days passed. Ruth stopped going to church. She stopped fasting. She stopped talking about children. Daniel noticed, but he did not force her. He prayed alone. Every night, Daniel knelt beside the bed. "Lord," he prayed, "even if my wife gives up, I will not. Please remember us." One evening, Daniel came home earlier than usual. He found Ruth sitting on the floor holding old baby names she had written years ago. She did not know he was watching. Her shoulders shook as she cried. Daniel walked in and knelt beside her. "You're not alone," he said softly. "We will wait together." Ruth looked at him with anger and pain. "I don't want to wait anymore," she said. "I want peace." Daniel held her hands. "Don't give up now," he said. "What if our miracle is closer than we think?" Ruth pulled her hands away. "You always say that," she replied, "and nothing happens." That night, Ruth packed the baby names away. Weeks later, something strange happened. Ruth began to feel tired, very tired. She blamed stress. She blamed sadness. One morning, she felt dizzy. She sat on the edge of the bed, breathing slowly. Daniel watched her closely. "Are you okay?" he asked. "I'm fine," she said quickly, but she wasn't. Days passed. Ruth started avoiding food. Certain smells made her uncomfortable. She felt sick in the mornings. She ignored it. Hope was dangerous now. One night, Daniel found Ruth crying in the bathroom. "What's wrong?" he asked. "I don't want to hope again," she said between tears. "I don't want to be disappointed again." Daniel's heart pounded. "Let's check," he said gently, "just to be sure." Ruth shook her head. "No," she whispered, "I can't." Daniel did not push her, but that night he prayed harder than ever before. A week later, Ruth fainted at the market. When she woke up, she was in a hospital bed. Daniel stood beside her, fear in his eyes. The doctor walked in with a file. "Congratulations," the doctor said. Daniel froze. Ruth's heart stopped for a moment. "You are pregnant," the doctor continued. Silence filled the room. Ruth stared at the doctor, then at Daniel. Then she cried. Not silent tears, not tired tears. These were loud, shaking, unbelieving tears. Daniel fell to his knees beside the bed. "Thank you, Lord," he whispered. That night, Ruth could not sleep. She kept touching her stomach. "Is this real?" she asked again and again. Daniel smiled through tears. "Yes," he said, "it's real." For the first time in years, Ruth prayed again. Months passed. Every checkup was filled with fear and joy. Ruth prayed every night. Daniel never missed a prayer. When the baby kicked for the first time, Ruth cried again. "God remembered me," she whispered. On a quiet morning, Ruth gave birth to a baby boy. When Daniel held the child, his hands trembled. Ruth looked at her son and smiled. The waiting was over. The tears had meaning. The 5th year had purpose. That night, as their baby slept, Daniel and Ruth held hands. "Thank you for not giving up on God," Ruth said softly. Daniel smiled. "Thank you for staying," he replied. Sometimes God is silent, but he is never absent. And sometimes the longest waiting leads to the loudest miracle. If this story touched your heart, type in the comment, "Lord, I trust your timing." God bless you.